I'm going to turn the rest of the time over to Doug, my co-conspirator and my mentor, because Doug has, I don't know if you've seen some of Doug's work, but it is like some of the most awesome segmented stuff that you will ever see. And you need to really get to know him and some of his work, because it's pretty sharp stuff. We're talking high end. So go for it.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say my name is Doug Busey, and I've been wood turning since 2004. Done a lot of other woodwork prior to that, but 2004 I started turning, and I enjoyed turning the blocks. And I made a few segmented bowls during that time, gluing them by, just rubbing the blocks together, no clamps, anything. And then in 2012 I took a class from Malcolm Tibbetts, and he has the most wonderful book that describes everything here of how to make a segmented bowl, and it makes your imagination go anywhere. So with segmented bowl, if you want to put the picture of a face in the side of your bowl, you just have to sit there and figure out what color of wood goes here and here, and make your bowl, and it becomes a feature ring with a face. Anything you think of you can make when you're doing segmented turning. And so that's why I fell for it, because I enjoy trying new things. And so I'm here to talk about the feature ring and this Indian blanket design I put in here. And I'm going to show you the easy way to make that design. Now I need let me give you that. No, that's okay. I don't want to get that in the way of the thing. Let me get over here. Okay, so it's like Mike said, you want to size all of your wood the same. So the first thing you do is figure out what colors you want in your feature ring for doing something like this bowl. And then you make sure the height and the width of these boards is exactly the same, because it's very important when you're putting it together to keep all the lines that way. Otherwise, they're not going to be the same, okay? So that's the most important part. Then you go so you're going to cut all these parts. You're going to cut the cut all these parts the same size, and whatever you need, because this block is going to be divided into 4 layers by the time we get done. So you make your wood whatever height you want it, and all of your boards are put together like that. I got to get another. I just need this one, a couple of these. I got enough to start with here. So after you cut 30 of these and 40, you take your sander and you hit each end on the sander. You don't make sure you don't have a rough spot somewhere. And you get all of them cut, and you get all of the other pieces cut. Then okay, I'll get there. So what you do is you get this lined up. You got plenty of time. You don't want to rush this thing, okay? And what you do is you leave a gap right here. Can you see that gap on that walnut? And since I lock this in down here, this first piece, then I take a weak clamp and I put it here where this can still has that space there. And so what I do is I get some glue spread out on a piece of wax paper and I butter them up each side, butter them up and get these things and make sure you got coverage on each one of them. And then you stick them down here. And once you get all of that there, you just take a clamp. And now there's no glue here, so this doesn't slide as easy as, so I'm going to release some pressure on the clamp maybe. See how it pushes that? Okay, now that is together and that's all tight. You know that's tight, okay? And then you take these spring clamps and you put them on there, and that makes all your pieces level on the top. Level on the top. Go get a cup of coffee. Come back. Take another sip of coffee. Butter them up. Okay. See how simple that is? And you know it's tight. You know it's really tight. And if all these pieces are the same height and width, this thing is flush. Okay? It's not, okay, it's, you know, it's not completely flush because there might be glue underneath one of the pieces, things like that happen, okay? So now we're done with we go in and come out the next morning. Oh, MDF, and that's a good question because also blue tape, you want to do something like blue tape. If you do duct tape, it's too slick. So the purpose of this clamp here to slide under, it just slides. Okay, so blue tape's a good thing. And it's just a square there that you made. Okay, so now I come out in the morning, and here's my pieces. And they got glue on them, right? So the first thing I do is take care of the sides. Run it, you know, scrape everything off you can scrape off, and then run it through drum sander. Flip the side over, get both sides done. And now when you start on the bottom, I'm going to call this the bottom and the top, okay? When you cut these blocks, they were 3/4 of an inch right here. Everything was 3/4. So now you put the top down and you run it through the sander and it takes some of this off because you don't care how much, okay? But when you come back and you do this one, if you put them all together, you got 3 good sides, and you run them through there, you hope they come out exactly the same height, but you know they're always off a little. So what I do is I measure this, and like this is 3/4 minus 2 ticks. This one's minus 5 ticks. Okay, they don't come out the same size. Okay, and when they do come out the same size, when we're going to put this together, it's going to look like that when we're done, okay, with all these cut. So, but that's the critical thing is this here. You've got to measure that to get them the same size. If you're not putting the same sizes together, so maybe this is a 2 and this is a 2 here, and you put the 2 together.
So you're talking about the top of the brown triangle?
Yes, yeah, the walnut. Yes, that's what you're measuring. Yes.
Otherwise it won't meet evenly with the one below.
Right, because if this one's 2 ticks taller, yeah, it isn't going to come out the same. So
You ran them through the drum sander, would they all come out the same?
they don't. I haven't had, you know, when you're doing 5 or 6 of these, they don't come out the same. That's why I measure them all, and just a couple of ticks, and it you know, because of, for whatever reason, they're just not for me. Let me stress that, for me. And so
Put them through the drum sander in the exact same spots because you're parallel.
yeah, I run them just like this, every piece I have.
Yeah, but if you put them all do one at a time in the same section of the drum sander, it might help to prevent that.
Oh yeah,
Your drum
yeah.
might not be parallel to your flat.
I can believe that, yeah, yeah.
Start with the smallest one first.
The what?
Start with the smallest one first.
Oh yeah, yeah, and but you have to do it. You have to measure every one of those so you know where they're at. Because what we're going to do is when the 2s and the 2s, if this is a 2 and a 2, we're going to cut this square right here. Not on this step, but when we go to put them together. So this is why we keep everything labeled, okay, as we start to do this. We're here. We haven't cut this yet, okay, so what we do now is okay, so I take one of these boards, and now remember this piece, the top, is the one that you're really gonna we're gonna make eighth inch cuts off of this block, okay? So you make yourself a good hardwood push stick, you know, and you do this, and now you run it through your table saw. You got to do this. You got to put this, one of the feather locks, and this is against the fence. You got to keep that tight, and then you'll get 1/8 of an inch. If you try to just shove it through there, it doesn't work. So now it comes through, and I take this off. It's sawed it off at 1/8 of an inch, right? And what I'm left with is this piece. This piece taped to that board, right? Okay? So what I do is I pull the tape off and shove this board right back up against there again and tape it down and run it through the saw. Take it off, shove this piece right back again. For the 4 times we're going to make these 1/8 inch pieces. And now you've still got the numbers written on here of what this is. This is a 2 ticks. This is a 3/4 inch. This is a 3/4 inch. Okay? So you want to mark these, and they're easy to mark. You've cut a square in back here, by the way, when you started this. You remember the square block at the front? Okay, you always have a square. So when you get this together, this is, you can draw a line right across here and make it number 1. Over here on this one, you make it number 2, right? 2 of them, so that you always know where they're at, okay? So now you cut this so you get the 2 tick ones together so you can put them together and the 1 ticks together, right? So Now that I'm here, I'm going to make the design. And you take this top piece and you take the piece and you flip it over. You don't move it, you just flip it over. Flip this one over. Flip this one over. Flip this one over. And now you've changed the angle of these on the, they were aimed the other way before. You remember that? The top one is this, is in there, okay? So that's why you put numbers on them, because we just lost that, the information that was in there. So then, and sometimes you'll get it to where you got, you get lucky and all, you can get 5 of them to go, you know, to get them together. But you take the piece, you flip it over. Take the piece, flip it over, always leaving it in the same order. Flip it over. Flip it over. And now I can put this together here. And you can line this up. Are you on this one here? Did you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. You see that fits. You know? This one here is close. This one here is a little close. We've got to shift it a little. So if these, when you saw them up, this is the only thing that matters now is this center one, because you won't be able to see this distance on the other layers, you know? So all you do is you glue all those together. And you end up with a block like this, okay? And you can pass this around because there's mistakes in both of these blocks. And then you cut your segments. You cut your segments. And then you can put your ring together. See how simple that was? Huh? No? No, but it's it really is. And then you take what Mike was talking about. Let's say you're going to outline this with this walnut. So you put a segmented ring on here that's twice as thick as this or more. And since this is on the lathe and there's no feature ring, this is on the lathe and there's no feature ring. You put this here and then you cut this off at whatever distance you want it, and the other piece goes on the other side that's on the lathe. So you get your top and your bottom out of one ring. You can slice it and get it out of, does that make sense? Yeah, cut the ring in half. Yeah. And that saves you time. You know, you know, trying to put together a segmented ring this thickness, don't try it. It isn't worth it, you know. So there you go.
So, Doug, when you said, and then you cut the segment or cut the angles on each side of that feature block, it's important to have that symmetrically.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do you manage that?
You got to put a center line on the thing. You know what dimension it's going to be, okay? So you got to center line it, and then you got to, and it's, well, I just run it up. I run it up against a stop block, and so when I flip it over, I should match the same on the other side. You know, the line, so it's centered.
So you mark the center line of the piece.
Yes.
That on the jig.
Yes. Yeah, that's it, yeah. And you put the stop block in whatever size it's going to be, half of that, right? Yeah. Flip it over. Yeah. Yeah. Any more questions? No?
Always line up with the segments, your segments of your ring, the vertical line. Does the vertical line of your feature block line up with those
Are you talking about this line here?
Line there.
Okay, yeah. So you cut the when those blocks coming around. When you get to the one that's already been cut for the segment with the angles on it, you just cut whatever size this is of a piece of walnut and stick it between them. The only effect it takes on the segmented ring is that it adds 1/8 of an inch 8 times. So it adds 1 inch to the total circumference. Yeah.
You don't turn anything till you're all done gluing, right? You don't turn it as you go along.
Oh yeah, I do. See, I put a block on, a glue block on, and start right here. And take this walnut, put the next string on, next string, and when I get to here, then you start making this double rings so that you can use that piece. You can use that piece on this other side also. But I do, and the last thing that happens is they're both on the lathe, right? One's on the drive and the other's on the tailstock, and they're centered always. They're always centered. If you set your lathe up to where it's centered, right? And they're always centered. So as you put a ring in here, it's very simple to make sure everything is in the same length. You can't, because you got to measure the insides of this and the outside to get this feature ring in there, to the thickness of because it's finished in here too. So if it's 3/8 of an inch in there, then this ring has to be 3/8. You put it on one side, turn it down to the 3/8, and then the last thing you do is take this much on the tailstock there and you shove this into it and glue it.
Do you hollow out half and hollow out half and put together?
As you build it, you have to do that. That's the only way, yeah. Huh? Oh, he asked whether you hollow out the insides as you're building the bowl. Yes, you do. And that's all done all the way out to the feature ring when you're starting to glue the feature ring in. And then you finish the feature ring inside because you still got the other half, and then you glue it together, and those two should match perfectly. So
What do you cut that, what do you split that ring? Point tool or hacksaw?
what's that?
Are you cutting that ring down to 3/8?
Oh, no, I just use a cutoff tool. Is that what you're talking about when I split this? Yeah, just use a cutoff tool. And just run it in there. It's about 1 inch thick, but it's got an angle on the back, so as it starts to go through, you feel that, you don't want to jam it all the way through there, right? And then I go to the bandsaw and finish it.
Take that cut off, put it on the bottom.
Yes, yep. And if you put this ring, it was one piece when it started, so you ran it through the drum sander. Both of the outsides are flat. So when you cut it in the middle, it's all ready to be glued on the other half. You're not fighting both sides.
Doug, just out of curiosity, how much time did you have invested in creating that one ring, that feature ring?
I had a lot of fun. I want to tell you. That's why I'm doing this, okay? Don't ask my wife. So, any other questions? Thank you. Good job, Mike.